All right, no fancy introduction. We don't do those over here, so I'm gonna go ahead and get right into it. I've been solving Rubik's cubes for about 9 to 10 years, and for a lot of my friends, and for even some people that have followed me through different social media platforms, I've kind of become synonymous with solving Rubik's cubes. Right. So the inspiration for this video actually was a good friend of mine had actually sent me a cube video. Right, and it was a video of somebody solving this weird like multi-dimensional thing that resembled a Rubik's cube, right? And I'm watching it, I'm kind of giving my feedback. But one thing led to another, and I ended up telling that person, I honestly think that if you gave me 4 hours, I could teach somebody how to solve a Rubik's cube. I said that at some point during the conversation, and they had pretty much agreed. So this video series that I'm about to go on is pretty much me kind of taking the next step in that. So this video is not a tutorial. This video is not going to be like a step-by-step or anything like that. This is just going to be me accumulating the information and providing the resources and the knowledge behind exactly what it is and how you go about solving a Rubik's Cube. So like I said, there's going to be different sections, but I'm doing this shit my way. You get what I'm saying? All of the instructions and everything is going to be my way. The way in which I feel like it makes the most sense, and the way I would want to have been taught the information, as being somebody that did not solve a Rubik's Cube, or like I said, maybe you're a little bit more advanced. I'll have more advanced topics and things of that nature later on. But we got to start somewhere, right? So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start from the very, very basics, right? I'm gonna cover some very basic concepts, some very basic principles, and some universal things that you're going to have to keep with you if you're going to kind of go on to that journey. You dig me? So I'm gonna start with the most basic of the basics, which is going to be the colors. So a Rubik's cube is a six-sided cube, and with the six sides, there's going to be six different colors. Now, one universal principle with the Rubik's Cube is that a standard Rubik's Cube is going to have the white side is going to be across from the yellow, the green is going to be across from the blue, and then the red is going to be across from the orange. No matter how you scramble the Rubik's Cube, that stays exactly the same. And I'll demonstrate, right? Give it a good scramble. Now, this might look like a completely random scramble, but if you notice what I said before, everything holds true. The side of the cube is dictated by the centerpiece, right? No matter how you scramble a cube, the centerpieces are fixed in their positions in relation to each other. So what I mean by that is this white center is still directly across from the yellow. The red is still directly across from the orange. And then the green is still directly across from the blue, no matter what. Right? Now, that's going to provide a perfect segue into the next topic, which is going to be the types of pieces. Now, we went ahead and talked about the centerpieces, right? The centerpieces are going to be the pieces in the middle, and like I said, they're going to be in a fixed position across from each other, no matter how you scramble it, right? There's one color for each centerpiece. There's six centerpieces. The next type of piece is going to be an edge piece, right? An edge piece is going to be a piece that has two colors. So, for example, this piece right here has a red side and a green. This is an edge piece. Two colors, right? Corner pieces are the last type of piece. Boom. So we got here, we got this yellow, green, and red corner piece, right? Three colors. Very basic, right? So now we know that on the Rubik's Cube, there's six sides, right? There's going to be six centerpieces associated with each side. The centerpieces stay in a fixed position in relation to each other, right? And that there's 3 types of pieces. The center piece with 1 color, edge pieces with 2 colors, and then the corner pieces with 3 colors. Alright, so we're making some pretty good progress on the understanding, but before we go any further, like I said, not gonna go too in depth on the exact process. But the overall concept when you solve a Rubik's Cube is that you solve it in layers, right? And the reason why it's important to know what color is across from the color that you're solving for, and when I say the color that you're solving for, that's going to be the side that you start with. You see, when you're solving a Rubik's Cube, you pick one side that you want to solve for, you start there, and then you go up, right? So, at the beginner level, and for the purpose of this video, you don't need to know how all the colors kind of correspond with each other. But I would definitely challenge you to select one color that you would like to solve for so that you know that color and then memorize what colors across from it. Me personally, I start with the green side. The first video that I learned while I watched somebody solve a Rubik's Cube, they solved for the green side, and I've took that on ever since. But what you'll notice is a lot of the resources that are out there that that describe how to solve a Rubik's Cube, they start with the white side. So it'll go like this, the white side at the bottom. A lot of the diagrams, and if you have one of those package inserts that come with the Rubik's Cube, the default is going to be starting with the white. The white normally has a little logo at the bottom and everything, and then they're solving up to the yellow. But at the end of the day, you can pick any color as long as you know what color corresponds with that starting color. Okay, so I briefly referenced the package inserts that are going to be on the inside of any Rubik's Cube that you buy in that little box. If you were to buy any Rubik's Cube from anywhere, off Amazon, or even if you go to a local grocery store and you buy like the regular like blocky Rubik's Cube, they're going to have a package insert with some directions in there. That's going to be one of the main sources that you can use, but you can also use online resources to help guide you in your journey to solving a Rubik's Cube. Now, whichever resource you decide to use, it is going to be imperative that you learn cube notation. Cube notation, in essence, is going to be using letters to describe rotations on a Rubik's Cube. For example, moving the right side up is going to be R, moving it down is going to be R prime, moving the top to the left is going to be U, moving it back is going to be U prime. So the concept of cube notation is going to be, there's going to be a letter that represents a move, and then there's going to be an apostrophe after that if it's going to be the inverse of that. So each movement has regular and then a prime variant. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to introduce you to one of my favorite resources when it comes to learning these cube notations. This is actually the resource that I used when I was first learning how to solve a Rubik's Cube, because if you can see over here, there is actually like a animated tutorial for how all of these movements work. So I don't have to sit here and go through all the different instructions on the screen. I'm going to put the link to this website in the description. And like I said, it gives you a visual representation of all the moves. So let's go over the moves that I just talked about. When I said R, moving the right side up, boom, that's what it looks like. And R prime is going to be the opposite of that. Boom. And then you got U, top across, U prime, top back. It's important to know these basic movements, because later on when we get to long strings of cube notation known as algorithms, you're going to have to be able to do these things in succession. But like I said, at a very, very high level, just know that there are letters that correspond to certain moves. And also there's cube rotations that get a little bit more advanced. But like I said, this engine is absolutely perfect. It gives you a breakdown of all the moves. It gives you visual representations. So like I said, I would definitely highly recommend bookmarking this. And if you're ever confused with any particular algorithm or any sets of movements, you can kind of go to this and it'll give you a nice visual representation. The next thing I want to introduce you to are the 2 types of solves. There's going to be a beginner method for solving a Rubik's Cube, which is going to be referred to as the layer by layer method. And you're also going to have the advanced method, which is also going to be referred to as F2L, or the first two layers, which is going to be characterized by solving the first two layers at once. Now, I'm going to give you a brief demonstration on what it looks like to do these two things. Again, I'm not going to get into in depth on what I'm doing, how I'm doing it. I'll put that for later videos, you know. And there's a karate master that's teaching somebody. They don't go straight to breaking boards and shit, right? You got to do random quests and journeys and hikes and shit like that. So that's what we're doing right now. I'm just showing you. So the layer by layer method goes something like this. You get your cross, and then you just start putting the edge pieces in. You just, boom. You just slowly but surely put the edges in. And again, I'm not going to get too in depth on exactly what I'm doing, but just know that this is what it looks like, just as a demonstration. You go corner by corner, and now you got one layer done, right? That's the beginner method. I'm going to re-scramble this, and I'm going to show you what it looks like when you're doing the first two layers at once. Again, this is just a visual demonstration. You're not supposed to be able to do this. Again, I'm just showing you the differences in the two types of methods, right? And what it's going to look like in actual practice. All right. So the F2L looks like this. You're doing the first two at once, right? Again, I'll have videos where I break down exactly what I'm doing, but essentially you work on this little third layer. You get this little combo right here of like a 1x2 block, and then you insert it. Again, this is not something that you'll be able to do overnight, but like I said, that's the difference between the two methods. One is more advanced, but this is what it looks like when the step is complete. Whereas in the layer by layer method, you just do that one. And now, regardless of if you're doing the layer by layer method or the advanced method, the third step, or the solving for the third layer, is always going to be the same, right? The first step in solving the last layer of the Rubik's Cube is getting this top layer all the same color. So you want to get this whole top blue. And the only way to do that is by doing algorithms. You just have to, it's just muscle memory, right? So that's where, like I said, the cube notation and looking at the different package inserts and looking at the different online references, that's where all that comes into place. And before I kind of spam out this algorithm, I'll bring our handy dandy website back up, right? And like I said, this website has it all, right? It has not only the cube notation with that interactive device, it also has the algorithms for all these steps. And like I said, this is going to be the cube notations that I described to you earlier, that you can look on that graphic. But like I said, these are all going to be the situations on how to, what they call, orient the last layer. Again, not important. I'm just introducing you to how this is done, right? And there's like 50 something cases. You just have to memorize them. Now, for the beginner method and the advanced method, for the first two steps that I just demonstrated, there's no algorithms. It's all intuitive. You're going to learn how to do it, and you're going to familiarize yourself with the cube the more you solve it. But the last two steps of orienting and then permeating the last layer, you have to memorize algorithms, right? So I'll get this off my screen and I'll demonstrate how you solve this. Boom. It's that easy. Like the algorithm, it's a lot, but once you actually memorize them, you'll be able to just spam them out just by looking at it. And then you got this case, muscle memory. Unfortunately, it's the only way. Maybe I'm exaggerating just a little bit. You don't necessarily have to dedicate all the different algorithms to muscle memory, especially right out the gate. I'm not saying that is everybody's goal, but what I will say is that is the absolute final level of Rubik's Cube solving, and that's when you'll kind of get into the speed cubing landscape. They call it two-look PLL, which means that once you solve the first two layers, you just need two looks. You get to look at that OLL case, and you'll be able to use the algorithm, and then you'll be able to go to the PLL, take one look, and then you'll be able to solve it. So like I said, that's the most refined variation of the advanced method. So I guess the steps in the progression are going to be the beginner method, advanced method, and then two-look PLL. But I say all that to say this. You don't necessarily have to memorize algorithms by heart, especially if you're just learning. The first two steps, once you've gotten enough videos and you know how to go through the steps intuitively, once you start to see these cases, you can just pull up the website that you're most comfortable with, pull up the package insert that you're the most comfortable with, and then just solve it along with the package insert. You can have the resource in front of you as you're learning. And then you'll start to get more and more used to it. You'll get more and more used to it. As you do more and more cases, and as you kind of familiarize yourself with the differences between the different cases. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna go back to some of those schematics, and I'm gonna teach you how to interpret some of the schematics and how they're going to be illustrated on these different sites, so that once you get the cases, you'll at least know how to direct yourself to the proper algorithm. And then from there, you just have to work on your cube notation and then executing and familiarizing yourself with the different patterns. So I also want to take some time to show you how to interpret an OLL schematic, which is going to be the second to last step. Now, to me personally, I feel like these schematics are a little bit harder to follow along with, but the reason why I like this particular website that I provided you the link for is that it'll separate the categories of OLL based off of how they look on the cube. So again, these are the cases for when the first two layers are done and you're trying to get the full third layer one color, right? So I'm gonna break away from this video real quick, and I'm gonna give an example of an OLL case that I have, right? It looks like the letter T, right? Looks like the letter T, because the blue is the side that I'm trying to get completely one color. Because remember, I'm solving for the green side, and the opposite of green on a Rubik's Cube is blue. So that's why this is the color that, I'm taking special awareness of. Like I said, there's two main character sides in every solve. The side that you're solving for and the opposite. So let's go back to our website and let's look for the T section. You see here, we got the line section, crosses, the four corners, and like I said, I like the way they do it. Now, all of these websites in the literature, it's all going to be different. If, I go to Amazon.com and order 10 Rubik's Cubes, there's going to be a bunch of different ways how they separate stuff. So I would just recommend finding one site or finding one piece of literature that works for you, and at least starting there and getting a lot of progress, because there might be other resources that have algorithms that you can do a little bit faster, or, the move sequences, they are going to change. There's different move sequences to solve these different cases. But the more resources that you use, it can be confusing initially. So that's why I wouldn't, use a lot of different resources initially. But as you try to split hairs and get your solve better, you might want to be like, hey, every time I get this case, it takes me too long. So I want to learn another way to do it. But anyways, let's go back to the schematic. So we have a T shape, right? Boom. In the T-shape section of the schematic, there's two different situations, right? And also, I want you to take note of something. You remember earlier when I said, hey, most of the resources are going to be based off of solving for the white side? That's what I mean. The schematics are mostly going to have the yellow pieces as the color that is being worked on, because they're assuming that you're starting with the white pieces. But all you have to do is translate this into the color that we're solving for. So in my case, it's going to be blue. So if you have a blue T, or whatever the last layer color that you're solving for, if you have a T, there's going to be two different situations. There's going to be situations where the blue pieces, these lines, mean the color that you're trying to achieve. In my case, being blue, it's facing the side. And on this example, they're completely solid. But on this example, they're kind of scrambled, right? So let me show you how to differentiate that on the case that we have on our cube. So this is the one where the sides are scrambled, because if you notice, it looks like the shape T, but the sides, they're not solid. Like, it's not two blue pieces showing here. That's why they had that wall here on the demonstration. Or wherever that line is on the schematic is where the color that is in question is facing, right? So let me just go back really quickly. You see here? You see here the differences in these lines? So we have this case right here. So that's how you interpret the schematic, by looking at your cube and then matching it up, because there's going to be cases where the shapes look identical, but there's different variations. So that's how you look at and interpret the second to the last step at a high level. So this is going to be for the very, very last step. Once you got the full top layer blue, these are some examples of how to permeate the last layer. And like I said, I'll give you a visual representation, but for right now, I just want to show you how the diagrams are interpreted. So let's start with this H1, because this is pretty much the easiest one. The diagram looks like a cross, right? And what this means is these are going to be the two colors that you're switching. So if you get a case where this piece needs to go here and this piece needs to go here, then it's going to be an H. It's going to be what they call an H perm, right? And let me show you what that looks like on the cube, right? I've already pre-adjusted it, and then we got this yellow that's on the white side, and then the white is on the yellow side. The orange piece is where the red piece needs to be. So just like that diagram had displayed, this piece needs to go here, and this piece needs to go here. That's why it had that plus sign. So we'll go back to the schematic. And I'll put the letters up on the screen so that you get it. This is the algorithm, right? M2U, M2U2, M2U, M2. Again, sounds confusing, but it really, in practice, is not. So I'm gonna demonstrate. M2 is a middle slice. So 1, 2, U, 1, 2, U2, 1, 2, U, 1, 2. That's how it looks like in slow motion. All right, and if you speed it up, there it is. So again, I hope this video was somewhat helpful, somewhat captivating. Like I said, very, very high level. This video, we talked about the different colors on a Rubik's Cube, how the centers are always in a fixed position across from each other. Like I said, the three types of pieces: the center pieces, the edge pieces with 2 colors, and then the corner pieces with 3 colors. We talked about the importance of knowing what color is across from which color, especially in the case of knowing what color you want to solve for and its opposite, because that's going to be very important. We briefly talked about the 2 different types of solves, the beginner method and the advanced method. We talked about cube notation very briefly, went to an interactive site. We talked about the different resources that you can use, orienting the last layer, and then permeating the last layer. So again, very, very basic first introduction video. Hope you guys liked it. Definitely let me know some feedback of some things that you want me to talk about in the next video. If I brushed over something that is relatively basic, please let me know. I'll try to factor it into the next video. But like I said, that's just step 1. And like I said, my whole thing is trying to get it under 4 hours. So I'm gonna keep making videos. I'm gonna keep having lessons until we get to that 4-hour mark. And by that time, I am confident that I'll be able to have transmitted everything from my mind into your mind, and you'll be able to confidently solve a Rubik's Cube. Thanks for watching.